Why working hard alone will never make you wealthy. The man who did everything right. Daniel Revis did everything right. That's the part that hurts. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't reckless. He didn't blow money on things he didn't need. He didn't skip work, he didn't make excuse. From the age of 16, Daniel worked grocery store, then a warehouse, then after putting himself through community college one class at a time, a logistics coordinator job at a mid-sized company in Ohio. By 34, he was making 61,000 US dollar a year. He woke up at 5:30 every morning. He was never late. He stayed late when the job needed it, and it always needed it. His manager called him the most reliable guy on the floor. Daniel believed something deep in his bones. The thing his father had told him, the things his school had taught him, the thing every motivational poster he had ever seen had confirmed. Work hard enough and it will pay off, so he worked harder. It was a Saturday, October. Daniel was sitting at his kitchen table, the same table where he ate every meal alone since his divorce 2 years back. Going through his finance, he did this once a month, laid it all out, felt optimized, felt in control. He made $61,000 a year. After taxes, he took home about $4,100 a month. He wrote numbers down like he always did. Rent, $1,380, car payment and insurance $640, health insurance $310, groceries $380, utilities and internet $210, student loan $290, gas $140, total $3,350, left over $750. He started at that number, $750. That was supposed to be his future, his emergency fund, his retirement, his way out. He had been making roughly this amount, give or take, for 4 years, and his savings account had $4,200 in it. 4 years. $4,200. He put his pen down for the first time in his adult life. Daniel Revis didn't feel motivated. He didn't feel like working harder. He didn't feel like setting another goal or waking up earlier or asking for more responsibility at work. He felt something colder than that. He felt like had been lied to. The conversation he wasn't supposed to hear. The following Monday, Daniel was walking back from the break room when he overheard two senior managers talking in the hallway. He wasn't trying to listen, but he heard it anyway. One of them mentioned the company's annual report, record profits, the best year in the company's story. They were talking about shareholder returns, some number with a lot of zeros. Daniel stood there holding his coffee. He thought about his 2.8% raise from 6 months ago. His manager had called it a strong performance recognition. He did the math in his head right there in the hallway. 2.8% to $61,000 was $1,708 a year, about $142 a month before taxes. The company had its best year ever, and his reward was $842 a month. He walked back to his desk, sat down, started at his screen, and for the first time he asked a question he had never thought to ask before. What exactly am I working hard for? What nobody teaches you in school. That night, Daniel didn't watch TV. He sat at his kitchen table with his laptop and started reading. Not self-help books, not motivational content, actual data. Federal Reserve reports, economic research, wealth distribution studies. He found a number that stopped him cold. From 1979 to 2019, 40 years, American worker productivity grew by 59.7%. The value that workers like Daniel created every single hour went up by nearly 60%. Worker compensation over the same period, 13.7%. He read it twice, 3 times. Worker produced 60% more. They kept 13% more. The rest, that 46-point gap, went somewhere else, into corporate profits, into shareholder returns, into executive compensation package. He kept reading. The top 1% saw their wages raised by 160% over those 40 years. The top 0.1%, 345%. Daniel leaned back in his chair. He thought about every extra hour he had stayed late, every weekend he had come in when someone called out sick. Every year he had told himself, just work harder, it will pay off. It wasn't going to pay off, not the way he had been told, because the game he was playing, the worker get paid game, had a ceiling, and that ceiling was low. The wealthy were not playing the same game. The difference nobody talks about. Daniel spent the next 3 weeks reading everything he could find, and slowly one idea started to emerge from all of it. Simple, obvious in hindsight, and somehow nobody had ever said it to him directly. Workers earn money when they show up. The wealthy earn money whether they show up or not. Daniel earned 61,000 US dollar because he traded 2,080 hours a year for it. If he stopped showing up, the money stopped. Simple as that. But the wealthy, they own things, stocks that paid dividends, properties that collected rents, business that ran without them. Their money worked while they slept. Daniel money sat in a saving account, earning 0.4% interest. He thought about the managers he had overheard. They were not smarter than him. They were not working 10 times harder, but they owned equity in the company. When the company had a record year, their ownership stake grew. Daniel had no ownership stake. He had a paycheck. A paycheck is a transaction. Ownership is a machine. He had been running on the transaction his whole life, and nobody, not his school, not his parents, not any job he had ever had told him that the machine even existed. The morning he did something different. It was Tuesday, 5:30 a.m. Alarm went off. Daniel got up, made coffee. Same routine, same kitchen, same table. But this morning, before he opened his work email, he opened his brokerage account, the one he had created 2 weeks earlier. He moved $300 into a low-cost index fund, the same type of fund that gives ordinary people ownership in the 500 longest American companies, the same companies that were having record years. While his rate sat at 2.8%, $300, he couldn't afford more. Not yet, but it was the first time. in his life that Daniel Reeves owned something that could grow while he slept. He closed the laptop, finished his coffee, he still went to work, still showed up on time, still did his job well, because integrity doesn't disappear when your perspective changes. But something was different now. He wasn't working hard because he believed it would make him wealthy. He was working hard to buy time, to keep the lights on, to stay stable while he slowly, quietly built something else on the side. He stopped working hard as a strategy. He started working hard as a foundation. What Daniel knows now. 2 years later, Daniel Reeves still makes $61,000 a year. He hasn't gotten a massive promotion. He hasn't started a company. He hasn't won the lottery. But every single month, without fail, he moves money into assets, index funds, a small amount into a Roth IRA. He's working on a side skill he can eventually freelance. His investment account has grown, not dramatically, but it compounds every month slightly more than the month before. More importantly, his thinking has changed completely. Just how money actually moves into the world. He understands the difference between income and wealth, between a salary and portfolio, between trading time for money and building systems that create money. He is not angry anymore, not at the system, not at his company, not at the managers in the hallway. But he is clear. Working hard is not a wealth strategy, it is survival strategy, and there's nothing wrong with surviving. Most of us have to, but if you want to build real wealth, the kind that doesn't stop when you stop, you need more than effort. You need ownership, you need assets. You need to understand that your labor, no matter how exceptional, has a ceiling. The machine has no ceiling. Daniel Reeves isn't rich yet, but for the first time in his life, he is building something that doesn't depend entirely on how many hours he can give. And that, he will tell you, is the difference between a job and a future. The question isn't whether you are willing to work hard. Almost everyone is. The question is, what are you working hard for?